Hello, I'm Chris Fowler for SportsCentury. When 21-year-old Jeff Gordon hit the testosterone-fueled Winston Cup Series full-time in 1993, he didn't swagger, bare his teeth, or even cuss. Lacking such requisite characteristics, Gordon was barely noticed. But after 7 victories in 1995 and becoming the youngest NASCAR champion in 45 years, he had earned the respect of everyone, including the intimidator himself, Dale Earnhardt. Not satisfied with mere acceptance, Gordon drove on to dominate the sport and change its image.
That's nice. All right. Let's get some of those.
Jeff has been one of those people that changed what a race car driver is. If you looked at Richard Petty, you looked at Dale Earnhardt, you looked at Cale Yarborough, and then you look at Jeff Gordon, that's not the same picture. Jeff helped bring mainstream young America into our sport.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Gordon.
In the Super Walmart.
That Jeff Gordon. I just love the way he gets in his car.
Oh, that's smooth.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
He's a great driver, but he's also the kind of guy you can sell to my street, your street, Main Street, or Wall Street.
Filling in for Regis Philbin, who is on special assignment this morning, the one and only Jeff Gordon.
When Jeff Gordon came in, he brought the mainstream American public with him. And us against the world NASCAR fans said, no, 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 no. It's us against the world. We don't want Jeff Gordon bringing the world to our cult. And they resented the hell out of it.
And then he started winning championships. And all of a sudden, he's winning a lot of money. Daggone, he's got a beautiful wife, and he's got a daggum Learjet. Look at that motor coach, and he's driving a Corvette. Why, I don't think I like this guy.
Gordon takes a look again. Rusty comes down, slams the door. Gordon on ahead. Here comes Jeff Gordon to take the lead.
He beat Dale Earnhardt. He beat Bill Elliott. He beat Rusty Wallace, and going down the line. Every one of those drivers out there have fans. And Jeff Gordon, this kid, was beating them.
You weren't up beside me. But if you hit me again, I'll put this sumbitch out of the racetrack. You can bet on that.
He doesn't talk like us. He's not from where we are. He's an open wheel guy, and he's lucky. Why should we like him?
People didn't think he had paid his dues. Everybody was watching what he was doing, but very envious of how much talent that he had.
The success was coming, the money was coming. I think people perceived him to be different, maybe because of that, aloof maybe.
He knew he was an outsider, but I also never had the feeling that he wanted to deal with it. He was in his motorhome, and nobody was invited, and hardly anybody ever showed up there.
Deep down, drivers want to see the other guy fail. I don't care what anybody says. So when Jeff was coming in, we're all like, man, I hope he gets his butt kicked.
With quiet efficiency, Jeff Gordon won Rookie of the Year honors in 1993. Over his first 7 seasons, he averaged a victory in every 5 starts. Such early success did not endear the young poster boy to the old guard.
Uh-oh, wonder who that is. I hear booze
in the background.
I could see it bothered him when he was introduced. The reaction from the fans was, hey, you've won too many. That can't be easy, you know, to be punished for being good.
Here comes Earnhardt. He's all the way to the bottom, almost in the grass. He slides up the racetrack, and Jeff Gordon will win it.
Dale was the old guard, the established champion. Jeff was the upstart, the guy who was coming in and stealing Dale's thunder. This is what the fans thought, and this created in their minds a rivalry.
Here goes a pass. Gordon making a move on the inside of Earnhardt.
Oh, Jarrett's loose. Down the back straightaway. Big trouble. Earnhardt out.
Here was the new kid on the block, and appeared, you know, by Earnhardt school, thought appeared to be a little bit of a sissy. It was natural that Earnhardt was going to pick him.
He's contributed a lot with the engines, and we appreciate that.
He would try to get in your head and and try to mess with you. And then if that didn't work, he'd go to the media, you know, and he'd you know, poke at you through the media.
The first year that Jeff won the 600 over here was '94, and he cried in Victory Circle. And Earnhardt wore that poor kid out, called him a crybaby.
It was the right story for this sport, which was in the process of going from regional, Earnhardt, to national, Gordon, from rough and tumble, Earnhardt, to polished and slick, Gordon.
Dale, great effort, man. There's some milk.
Their relationship really was like the old sheepdog coyote cartoon. You know, they'd ride in together and then punch in, knock hell out of one another all day along the racetrack, and then go do business deals together at night.
I can't say he took me under his wing, can't say we were best friends, but he was very good to me. I listened to what he had to say and asked him for advice. Even, you know, we're partners in a couple businesses together.
Despite their mutual respect and partnership away from the track, Earnhardt helped fuel a rumor that Gordon was gay. But in fact, when the newcomer was a rookie, he dated the 1993 Miss Winston, Brooke Seeley. However, because NASCAR frowned on drivers dating the sponsor's spokesmodels, the couple kept their relationship a secret.
Jeff told me, Earnhardt even came up to me one day and asked if I was gay. Well, I printed the quote, and I've got a feeling that it started right there.
There were people out there to get Jeff Gordon. There were people out there making shirts up. People were literally planning things on the internet. And then the worst part was people would read it. Instead of just laughing about it, people were going, is this true?
That was definitely below the belt and certainly no reason for it. I'm you know, proud to be heterosexual. That was always one I just laughed at.
Success breeds contempt. It's that simple. And he was so successful, so fast. This happened everywhere he went.
Faced with constant resentment of his prodigious driving talent, Gordon learned early on to lock himself inside a protective bubble made of grit and determination.
Jeff Gordon's first totally programmed race driver in the history of motorsports. And this was done by his stepfather.
Jeff Gordon was born in Vallejo, California on August 4th, 1971. When he was a year old, his mother, Carol, divorced his natural father, and in 1973 married John Bickford, an engineer who built mechanical devices to assist the handicapped. Bickford infused his love of racing in his stepson.
Every other day I would pick him up from school, we would drive 50 miles and we would practice. And he practiced until he would be so tired that he literally couldn't drive the car.
John's pretty relentless. When you take a young child like Jeff, you know, 5 years old, you have to continually push them. And I supported that.
We all did our own thing. He raced. My mom, she helped with the scoring and announcing in the tower. John, of course, was the mechanic and the patient person, teaching him and guiding him.
There's endless number of reasons why you get to someplace, but the one common denominator was John Bickford and me.
Well, I've ran quarter midgets for about 8 or 9 years, and I've ran go-karts for about 3 or 4 years. And the go-karts, they really help you out on the dirt because, you know, you're sideways and on the pedal.
Before he was even old enough to have a driver's license, Gordon had won hundreds of races and 2 national quarter midget titles against much older drivers. While the prodigy drew raves from some, others were skeptical.
I can remember being at the racetrack until late at night because they always thought we were cheating and they wanted to tear apart the car.
I know there was a lot of the older people that had a problem with a 13-year-old racing against him. They just felt he didn't have the experience to handle the car.
Ugly things were said about us. What kind of parents could we be? Because it was a dangerous sport.
Look at that. Goes into a big spin. He takes Gordon to the wall. Gordon smacks the wall very hard.
You're a child abuser, you should be punished. He's too young, he's too small. He shouldn't be doing this. I was blocked from racetracks for a variety of liability reasons. We respected their wishes and we just moved elsewhere.
In 1986, Gordon's family moved to Pittsboro, Indiana, where, at 14, he could legally race 700-horsepower sprint cars, raw, nasty, bucking Broncos without roofs or fenders. Running 100 nights a year, Gordon became the family business.
Oh, no! Oh, my God! His foot in it! You believe he was in right still on the throttle! He got second place while he was airborne!
The steep trajectory of Gordon's career was pointing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and a future in open-wheel racing. But in the summer of 1990, still without a sponsor, the 19-year-old climbed into a stock car and drove some laps at the Buck Baker Driving School in Rockingham, North Carolina. In one powerful instant, his life's focus would be changed forever.
He called on the telephone and he said, sell everything. I found out what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I said, okay. I said, we're going stock car racing? He said, we're going stock car racing.
He looked about 13 or 14, and I get out my briefcase, and he gets out his briefcase, and he opens it up, and I think there was a Nintendo Game Boy, a can of peanuts, and a stock car racing magazine. I thought to myself, wow, is this kid really going to be the guy to drive this race car?
With Ray Evernham in the pit, Gordon lit up NASCAR's Busch Grand National Series in 1992, setting a record for poles with 11. And on the day of his first win in Atlanta, his furious, almost reckless driving style caught the eye of owner Rick Hendrick.
The car was so out of control, I said, hey, watch this, he's going to bust himself open. Comes around and does it again and again, and I said, man, who is that? And he said, it's that Gordon kid.
A year later, Gordon and Evernham were on the Winston Cup circuit with a green light from Hendrick to build the car of their dreams.
And the rookie from Indiana, it's Gordon across in first.
Most rookies, they get to drive junk. Jeff was one of the first guys that stepped into top-notch equipment right off the bat.
Ray Evernham had probably at that time accumulated enough knowledge to be, I'm going to say, a full year ahead of everybody else in the garage area.
When I said, here's what the car's doing, he knew how to make it better.
It took me a little while to figure out, look, he's out there alone. He needs me to help him, give him information, calm him down, tell him it's going to be all right.
Keep digging, keep digging.
And as soon as I figured out how to do that, man, it was like a switch went off.
Jeff Gordon, winner of the inaugural Brickyard 400.
It's Gordon, and he has now won 28 of the last 100 Winston Cup races. Jeff Gordon wins at Rockingham.
After winning Winston Cup championships in 1995 and 1997, Gordon won 13 races in 1998, including 4 in a row and 17 consecutive top 5 finishes on his way to another title. Young, rich, and handsome, he appeared sickeningly perfect to NASCAR fans who liked their heroes flawed. But all was not perfect inside the Gordon bubble.
Obviously, when you're winning races and you're winning championships, there's supposed to be great, happy times and everything. But as his mother, I could tell that he wasn't happy within himself. He wasn't himself.
Jeff Gordon was always in a situation where there was a domineering person around him. It was John Bickford who taught him how to race, and he moves to Ray Evernham. And then you had Brooke, who people saw as a very strong hand, a very strong image.
Married in November of 1994, Jeff and Brooke Gordon were racing as royal couple.
They were young and they were beautiful and they loved each other, and they were going to take over the NASCAR world.
I think she was a calming influence in his life. I know that she was a big influence as far as him going to church.
Brooke cleaned him up and made him more appealing, and maybe they were private and maybe they were secluded, but she was with him at the height of the making of Jeff Gordon, and she probably deserves credit for that.
Brooke wanted him to be a man and a husband and to stand up to his parents and not let them tell them what to do. But she had certain things that she wanted Jeff to do.
6 months after his wedding, with success and fame making his financial affairs increasingly complex, Gordon hired a full-time business manager, essentially replacing his stepfather, John Bickford. For 20 years, they had chased the dream together. Now, on the brink of Gordon's first Winston Cup championship, they split painfully.
That was a big strain on my family. My mom, my stepdad, myself. We didn't speak for a long time. We didn't get along for a long time.
I only knew one thing, Jeff Gordon. It was a challenge for me to figure out who I was and what I was going to do and where did I fit in the world.
As years went by, I realized how important that they were to me. It was nice to really rekindle and rebuild that relationship back up, and I think it's probably better and stronger now than it's ever been.
In September of 1999, with 47 wins in 7 seasons, Gordon lost Evernham when his crew chief became the leader of Dodge's NASCAR team. A month later, Gordon signed a lifetime deal with Hendrick Motorsports that gave him part ownership of the team.
We had done everything that you could do in that sport, some of it 2 and 3 and 4 times. And a great opportunity came with Dodge to help start race teams from scratch, and I needed to know if I could do it.
The fact is, I think Ray Evernham had something to prove that it was Ray Evernham. And I think Jeff Gordon had something to prove that it was Jeff Gordon. And I think that they've both proven that.
You missed a spot.
If Jeff and Brooke Gordon were regulars in the media, they were increasingly absent from the racing community. In 1997, they moved to Florida from Lake Norman, outside the NASCAR capital of Charlotte.
When Jeff was winning 10 races in a year, he was hard to talk to. He was always in his motorhome, would never come out and hang out.
He was a good husband. He did the things that you were supposed to do when you're being a good husband. And at times, I think he wasn't happy with all that that entailed.
Now they move off. They've got a jet. They live in Florida. And people can say that Brooke influenced all of that. And I don't buy that. It takes two. And I think that's a lifestyle that Jeff wanted to live.
On February 18, 2001, Dale Earnhardt was killed during the Daytona 500. After watching the crash replays over and over, Gordon spent a sleepless night in deep reflection on his own life.
You realize, how precious life is and how quickly it can be taken away from you. It made me want to appreciate every day.
It affected him a lot more than people realize. I think I saw him change in a lot of ways, made him think deeper things about family and how he's living his life.
He woke up one day and was like, I'm 30 and I'm not very happy with where I am, despite having all this around me. And he decided to make some changes. And I guess his marriage was a casualty of that.
But in March of 2002, it was Brooke Gordon who sued for divorce, alleging that the marriage was, quote, irretrievably broken as a result of the husband's marital misconduct, end quote. Gordon denied the allegation and countersued, igniting 15 months of legal wrangling before a private settlement awarded Brooke millions. Then in October 2003, Playboy magazine published nude pictures of exotic dancer Deanna Merriman, who proclaimed she had an 11-month affair with Gordon while he was married.
He didn't like a woman going in Playboy and telling all, and turns out Jeff's not perfect. He's not the squeaky clean, goody two-shoes everyone thought he was.
I'm driving the car on Sunday, and on Monday I'm in a deposition or in a room filled with lawyers. It did affect me, definitely, in my life and on the racetrack. I'm very thankful to have that out from underneath me now.
Nobody knew who or what Jeff Gordon was, including Jeff Gordon, until he was free of his parents, Ray Evernham, then out of his first marriage. Now we see Jeff completely without handlers, without anybody telling him what to do.
If free is what he is, it remains to be seen if Gordon can regain the form that has made him one of the greatest NASCAR drivers of all time.
Here's Jeff Gordon.
This is the new Jeff Gordon incident. Take a look at this. Used to come here like a little choir boy. Forget it, it's over.
Since his divorce with Brooke, I think he's, obviously
let loose a little bit, and he's not as tied down as he used to be.
There isn't a new Jeff Gordon. There's just Jeff Gordon that used to be. Now you can see him down at Daytona hanging outside his motorhome talking to people and actually having a good time, laughing.
I think I'm letting a little bit of the person away from the track come to the track every once in a while and just be a little bit more myself.
Jeff Gordon won his 4th Winston Cup in 2001. But the next season, a gang of hungry young guns charged into his draft and upped the ante for victory. By the end of 2003, with only 15 wins over the last 4 seasons, the 32-year-old Gordon faced a question. Has he eased his foot off the pedal?
I don't know if I see that commitment in Jeff right now. It's going to come down to some point in time when Rick Henry's going to grab him and look him in the eye and say, son, what do you want to do? Where's your heart at?
He's as good as he ever was, and he's committed. Is the competition tougher than it was, a couple of years back? Yes, it is.
Oh, almost contact between the 16. Oh, there was contact. Jeff Gordon, the leader.
A few years ago, Jeff Gordon had such a dominant race car that he could just pull out and drive around the outside of you. It's not like that now.
That magic that he and Abraham had, you'll never find that again. As he has progressed, has won races, and accumulated wealth, then all of a sudden, the toys get in the way.
Yeah, I think Jeff, without a doubt, looks outside of racing more than he used to. There's no question. But don't confuse that with not still wanting to win and still wanting to dominate.
I think Jeff Gordon still wants to win now just as bad as he's ever wanted to win. He's going to push you hard for every position that he can get every week.
I know what it takes to win a championship, and it takes consistency, and you don't necessarily have to win a lot of races to win those championships. But I'm driven to win.
What he did, I think, was just hit a bump in the road of his career. He's coming off a difficult divorce, but he's starting a new life, and I don't see Jeff Gordon going away anytime soon.
In a Travis Tritt song called I'm Gonna Be Somebody Someday, a famous guitar player encounters an amazing young talent whom he refers to as the sandy-haired river boy. He wonders whether the phenom will topple him from atop the music world. The song was one of Dale Earnhardt's favorites, and when young Jeff Gordon began showing what he had, the Intimidator thought that perhaps he had found his sandy-haired river boy. For Sports Century, I'm Chris Fowler.